scholarships, a living wage, and all kinds of perks as a reward for military service. Now, armies around the world have long used scholarships and other bonuses to recruit soldiers. Hezeg's 2 decades of financial contributions are no different. They are an important part of Israel's ability to recruit soldiers from overseas. In fact, Hezeg is listed as the first source of scholarships on the Draft IDF website. The trouble, of course, is that the IDF has committed many documented war crimes, and the occupation it is tasked with enforcing is itself illegal under international law, according to a recent United Nations Commission of Inquiry. In short, Hezeg is no ordinary charity. I'll quote a letter to Heather Reisman by the President of Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East. He wrote, "You are encouraging foreign soldiers to join the Israeli army and participate in an army which daily commits violations of humanitarian and human rights law." That letter was written in 2010. In the 13 years since, the violations have only grown more alarming, and never more so than in Gaza over the past 7 weeks. Which brings us to the contentious words on the poster over Heather Reisman's face: funding genocide. Let's review. Indiscriminate killing of civilians, a staggering number of them children, the severing of food, water, and medication, the attacks on civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, the mass forced expulsions from northern Gaza, the declarations of intent to ethnically cleanse Palestinians made by Israeli politicians. These are the facts that have led multiple UN experts to describe the situation in Gaza as a, quote, genocide in the making, stating clearly that, quote, such egregious violations cannot be justified in the name of self-defense after attacks by Hamas on the 7th of October, which we have condemned in the strongest possible terms, unquote. Hundreds of scholars have similarly warned of a, quote, potential genocide under the 1948 International Convention. Since the words funding genocide have, in an Orwellian twist, been cast as hate speech, it is important for us to understand that that the warnings of genocide and the allegations of such are not marginal. Articles by experts debating the point have appeared in the New York Times and many other leading publications. The Center for Constitutional Rights has filed a lawsuit against the Biden administration alleging, quote, failure to prevent genocide, unquote. You do not have to agree that the genocide charge is correct to recognize that the accusation has been made and will continue to be made in the months and years to come. The poster referenced these facts. It said nothing about Jews, nothing about identity, used no hate symbols. That should matter to us. It should matter that the Toronto police called this a, quote, hate-motivated act when absolutely no evidence to support that claim exists. It should also matter that the campaign against Hezeg and Indigo long predates the current feverish frenzy of censorship and silencing. On point of fact, it began in 2006 and was held down by originating members of Jewish Women Against the Occupation. Every Friday, a small group of these committed peace activists would gather outside this very store and hand out flyers. I had the pleasure of knowing 2 of the leaders of that steadfast action, the great Naomi Wall and Amy Gottlieb. Both passed away recently. That's how long this has been going on. And I can assure you that Wall and Gottlieb would be horrified by the ways genuine fears of anti-Semitism are being abused to shut down critical debates about Israel. I also want to acknowledge something complicated. As a Jewish person who grew up on stories of Kristallnacht and Jewish businesses that were vandalized out of hate, I recognize that graffiti on a bookstore window has painful historical echoes. I feel those echoes inside of me. But feelings are not facts, and feelings can be manipulated. I categorically reject the baseless claim that hate was any motivation for this action, or that the date was somehow deliberate.
Why are you hiding?
Whatever anyone may think of the optics, this protest must be seen for what it was. One of a wave of principled direct actions being taken by people of conscience around the world. People who are searching for pressure points, parliaments, bridges, ports, weapons manufacturers to make the killing stop. You do not have to agree with the poster or the paint to recognize that they were political activism. Activism that broke nothing, that hurt no one, that incited no one. In fact, you can completely disagree with them and still recognize that the violent and aggressive actions of the Toronto police represent an extraordinarily dangerous threat to all of our freedoms. As an author, I am speaking at this press conference to express my solidarity with the accused, who are principled activists and scholars who have devoted their lives to protecting people from violence and from supremacist ideologies. They stand for the opposite of hate. The charge